So Mr. P is half potato and half cyborg. Robot Mr. P, cyborg Mr. P. What do we actually call him? What's going on, guys? My name's Anthony, or Big B Stats, and welcome back to another Roblox Chapter 12 Piggy prediction. And today we're going to be talking about Mr. P and becoming half a cyborg that he is. Also, if you are enjoying the Piggy content on the channel, remember to leave a like and share it, and also feel free to subscribe for more. And if you want to show your further support, you can always use star code BIGB2 when purchasing Robux. We also have a Discord server where you can submit your predictions as well, so link to that will be also in the description. But with that being said, let's get into our predictions and theories about what has actually happened to Mr. P. So when Minitoon said that a character may be coming back that we may not expect, I do also believe that it could have been for two characters. Mainly, yes, Mr. P, due to the fact that I don't think anyone expected to see Mr. P as a robot, but I also think no one really expected to see Bunny as a ghost. But it also could be that Bunny was just a shadow figure. You're not actually able to get over there, which we did talk about. But if Bunny is an actual ghost, it would be also kind of creepy. So Mr. P has been on the run for his life. We have not been able to find Mr. P. I think he's been on the run for about, what, 6 chapters now, and we have not been able to see him. The last time we actually saw Mr. P, a perfectly normal Mr. P, if this even was Mr. P, was in the school down below in the sewers. And it was quite interesting because we also, this was our first encounter of Mr. P. It was like, okay, this is Mr. P. Okay, he knows a lot. This is one of the main characters as well, and a big part to the story. But it turns out that Mr. P is completely different when we see him, and totally not what we expect. Now, you can also think that maybe Mr. P was just running because he was ashamed. I mean, he is literally a half of a robot right now. So I want to talk about why Mr. P could possibly be a robot and what's actually could be going on. So I do want to point out that we don't really start getting into really robots and things like that until chapter 10. Chapter 10 is where we, of course, meet George. If you did not know, we found out George was the one behind the dumpster in chapter 9. And we also have Roby, who was introduced. Now, I'm going to talk about Roby because there's also a lot of theories going around that Roby is the one that has turned Mr. P into what he is. Or Mr. P was actually attacked and infected, and now, Mr. P is trying to fix himself and has lost a lot of memory. So that's a theory there that I'm hearing a lot. Now, let's think for a second. What if everyone is a robot but you? Now, I know that's a bit far-fetched, and you're like, wait, no, I mean, Pony and Zizzy, they're like, they're just real, but let's just say that everyone is slowly starting to show like robot signs. That would also be something quite interesting. And again, we didn't get introduced to robots. I also find it funny that Roby resembles a lot of Mr. P in chapter 11 in the end. Like, they both have the red eye, they both have the one arm. So this could be also one of two things. Either, I don't know if, let's say Mr. P was injured and Mr. P did this to himself, trying to fix himself. Now, he did point out that he was trying to fix everything and, everything's a disaster. I mean, he went on a full rant, like, I've become a disaster, which makes me feel like he could have actually done this to himself. And also, he tried to make things better, but ended up making them worse. But I was thinking that what if there was like another mastermind behind Mr. P, like something controlling or someone controlling Mr. P and controlling these robots at least. I mean, because I know we initially thought that the cure would, Mr. P is, faking the cure and it is infecting everyone. And a lot of people are also thinking that this, in the end, like this cyborg / robot Mr. P is actually TSP. So I'm going to put a poll in the video now at this point. Do you think this is TSP or Mr. P? Now, I know we had that big theory that TSP stands for the super potato, but then we also have that theory now that TSP could stand for the 7 potions, which I'll get into that in another video. So yeah, there's a lot of theories going around, but just think for a second, what if everyone is actually robots and everyone is maybe being controlled? For some reason, I don't want to trust George. I don't know why, but Mr. P also thinks that we're dead and he wants us to leave him be. But so far, these are the only 2 robots that we have. So I'm thinking maybe something either happened to Mr. P and he's just trying to do everything he can in his power to fix it. Who's to say that Mrs. P also isn't a robot, as well? That could also be another thing. I mean, we haven't actually really seen Mrs. P either. So maybe Mr. P was also trying to repair, let's say, Mrs. P or something. Maybe, you know, there is no confirmation that Mrs. P is actually sick. I mean, Mrs. P seems to be a bit normal. I'm not saying normal because we don't see her, we only see a shadow figure, but it seems that she's not infected and not blinded by this rage. But there's a lot of theories to this, and this could also be anything. So again, my thoughts are either, let's just say hypothetically that everyone is robots, but I think we're definitely going to get closer to the source of this robot, because right now, I mean, we've made it to the outpost. Looks like we're heading into a lab. I mean, especially the tunnel we go through. I mean, looks like we're going that way. And I think we'll get more behind the mastermind. Let's say Mr. P isn't the mastermind of all this. It doesn't seem like he knows really much of what's going on. So we'll have to see what's really behind the scenes in all this, and if there is someone else kind of controlling and manipulating this whole plot. But there's a lot of theories floating around the robot and the Mr. P. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take to the comments and see what you all think about this robot, Mr. P. Erica says, I think that Mr. P is a robot and lost his memories. That could also be true. Like, let's say he's in the repair phase, like, you know, he lost his memory and has been turned into a robot to be saved. So that's a really good theory. Duck says, theory, Mr. P maybe was fighting the soldiers, so he lost some parts of his body, but he replaced it with robotic parts. Then that's why he left the note, and maybe he got brain damage, so possibly he didn't remember us. That I see this memory loss being a big thing here. Christina, the idiot alien, says, my prediction is that Mr. P was partially infected at one point or attacked and replaced his limbs with robotic ones. He said, the people I let down are here to haunt me, which might be Bunny. She was a ghost, so it wouldn't make sense to haunt him. I don't know for sure, but those are my thoughts. Christina, that's also not a bad theory at all. Great job, and thank you for that. Spicy says, oh my god, I have a theory. TSP stands for the scrapped potato. Maybe TSP was disguised robot and got scrapped for unknown reasons by other characters. Blinded by his fury, he infects everyone. Having Mr. P on his side for a while, he now regrets his actions and is going insane. Oh my days. Lemon Lower Key says, I have a theory for Mr. P has gone insane and was attacked, so he was replaced his damaged parts with robotic parts. And Mr. P, he went insane trying to fix everything. I also think so too. I mean, I think in the end of chapter 11, we realized that this is a broken Mr. P. Rami Lee says, my suggestion that Mr. P will fuse himself with the facility at the end of chapter 11. He will turn into a giant robot, and I would suggest that my suggestion would be a boss. And a bunch of emojis there. A boss wouldn't, I think we'll definitely get a boss in chapter 12. And chapter 12 will also have multiple endings. That Pico person says, I don't think that Mr. P in the sewers is the robot Mr. P at the end of chapter 11, because robots can't touch water, right? And someone replied, robots can touch water if the robot's body is powerful. Alex says, I think Mr. P was the one writing on the chalkboard, and he is infected, but he can control it with the metal robotic parts. Please use this in your next video. That's also not, I think, like, what if he's actually turned himself into this to kind of fight the infection and survive it? So, but think about it. Look at Roby. Like, Roby's infected and Roby's also a robot. So, Evelyn Clark, who's also really good on the theory, says, well, when you think about it, why would Mr. P's life be a disaster? Well, apart from everything that has happened, but Mrs. P isn't dead. Not at least. What if Mrs. P is the one making the potions? Basically, she has been evil this whole time, and Mr. P doesn't know. Ooh, we do have the theory that he's getting framed. So when he made potions to try and help her and gave it to the family, she saw him and put in the ingredients and decided this is her plan to destroy the world. And now Mr. P thinks it's his fault and he has been taking all the blame. Then Mr. P tried an experiment to reverse the potions, and since no one trusted him anymore, he tried it on himself and failed horribly. I think it ended up turning him into half a robot. And when he walked out of the view saying, "You are dead, leave me be," he went back down to his secret lab, and the next map is a lab. What do you think? Like my theory, like this comment if so. I thought this was an amazing theory. Like, what if this whole time Mrs. P is the one framing Mr. P? I mean, they both are a potato. I mean, this is, wow. Aqua is useless says, maybe the reason Mr. P looked like a robot is because he was infected by Roby, the only robot piggy so far. Again, we're getting closer to these robots now. Catxiety says, I know I'm a bit late, but here's a theory. What if Mrs. P was evil? Think about it. We know Mrs. P was in the city, but if she was extremely sick, why would she be watching us? If you were sick, would you be standing up watching people? I know some people think that Bunny is evil, but I doubt it. Maybe she had a reason to lie. She was going to fight off monsters and has any of the monsters from the back then come back? That's true. We haven't actually seen any of them come back actually. Well, I don't think so. And everyone is where I would suspect them to be. And also, what if Mrs. P was giving people potions? I mean, I know it's far-fetched, but it's possible. Ever wonder why they have weapons? They could be grabbing items from, you know, just anywhere, but what if the only weapon that was available she had to give them? But I don't know who could have made Robbie. There's a big piece missing. Hopefully in chapter 12 it is revealed. Thank you for reading the unnecessary long paragraph. Have a good day / night, whatever. Thank you so much. That was an awesome theory, and that's true. Someone is behind this. If it's not Mr. P actually turning himself into a robot, someone is turning people into robots, or someone, there's like a scientist that or someone that is doing this to people. Also, a quick note too is that in the Peppa Pig series, George has a toy, so which is also based off of Roby, I believe, as well. So yeah, something to also think about, evil George. Just kidding. So I think that's gonna wrap it up for today's video. I would really love to hear your theories on why you think Mr. P is half a robot / cyborg. Also, which sounds better, Mr. P robot, cyborg, Mr. P. Let me know down below in the comments. But I thank you all so much for tuning in. If you did enjoy, feel free to leave a like and share it, and also feel free to subscribe for more, and if you're new to the channel, and I will see you all in the next video.